It was a disappointing night for Vice President Kamala Harris as voter turnout dwindled in some key battleground states. Pennsylvania has been called for Donald Trump, a key state the Democrats were betting on as the path to the White House. For more on what happened, why things did not play out as the Democrats had hoped, is Democratic strategist Avis Jones-DeWeever. Avis, I think we've talked remotely for like 8 or more years,
Absolutely.
So it's great to be here with you in person this morning.
Yes.
First of all, why did voters not turn out for Harris?
You know, that is the million-dollar question. A lot of time and money will be spent by the Democratic Party to figure that out. And it just baffles the mind because there seemed to be so much energy, there seemed to be so much excitement. You know, we don't want to talk about crowd size, but there were some big crowd sizes there.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, people chose to stay at home, and the world is going to have to pay the consequences.
This isn't just the presidency, so for Donald Trump, or what she has lost. This is the Senate, possibly the House, the popular vote, plus a right-leaning Supreme Court. So how does the Democratic Party recover from this? What do they need to do differently?
Literally, in all seriousness, they need to perform an autopsy. They need to figure out what didn't hit. What was the problem with the messaging? You know, I believe that really one of the biggest things that Kamala Harris was running against was the Biden record, which honestly the Democratic Party did not do a good job of selling. He has a better record than the American people actually know about. And also, I believe they didn't mount a good defense around a lot of the very negative ads that Trump was just really putting millions and millions of dollars behind on some very touchy issues like transgender shifts within prisons. And so it was just a very, very shocking and sad result. I think this is not what people were expecting. And as you mentioned, losing everything at once could mean huge multi-generational impacts that could be very damaging for the future of this nation.
How about time? Did Biden hang on too long? Did she not have enough time?
You know, I do think it would have probably helped had she had more time. But the big thing, I believe, is the messaging. Biden himself did not really message about the difference that he was making. You know, you had things that he was passing, you would have Republicans vote against it in Congress, and then when the benefits would trickle down to their states, they would go back home and campaign on it as if they supported it.
Right.
And so instead of the Biden administration really trumpeting their victories, they just put their heads down and worked. They need to do a better job of messaging. They need to do a better job of marketing. If there is anything I can say about Donald Trump, he absolutely knows how to do that, and the Democrats need to be able to do that as well.
Let's drill down into some of these numbers. Exit poll numbers show 54% of women voted for Harris. That was expected to be higher.
Yeah.
And 44% of women voted for Donald Trump. Those margins, much smaller than what we had been discussing in the days before the election day.
Yeah.
Where were the women?
You know what? You have to disaggregate that by race. You had around 90% of black women showing up for Kamala Harris, only about 47% of white women. And so what's going on here was, particularly in various states where you had some ballot initiatives around abortion, we saw women splitting their votes. There were women in many states who voted in order to protect abortion in their states, but still would go ahead and vote for Trump at the same time. And that's where the disconnect was happening on the women's vote.
There were traditional voting blocs that left the Democrats to move over to Trump. I'm thinking about young black men, for example.
Yes.
What did he offer them that Kamala Harris could not?
You know, first of all, I would say once again, it was disappointing. About 20% suggests, but still, behind black women, they were the second largest demographic group to vote for Kamala Harris.
Okay.
To the degree that there was some that sort of bled off, it probably was the appeal of the machismo, perhaps this belief around him being a successful businessman, even though he's been bankrupt 6 times. You know, there is this sort of mystique that happens with this Trump bravado that many men find very appealing. We did see he did, in fact, carry the majority of the Latino male vote. Yeah. So something serious is happening there with men that the Democratic Party needs to take a look at.
I'm going to ask you about the elephant in the room, Avis. Trump has won 2 campaigns. He's run 3 campaigns. He's won 2 against highly qualified women, a vice president and a secretary of state in Clinton. Is this about America not being ready to vote a woman as their leader?
It certainly looks like it to me. And it's very disturbing because not only did he win this election, this is the first time it looks like he's going to win the popular vote. We'll see how everything shakes out when California comes in. But he could very well win the popular vote, which he's never done before. And so that to me says that even though you have someone who actually, I would argue, beat him definitely during the debate, ran a very, very powerful campaign, even though it was truncated and short, there seems to be something else that's going on there. And it definitely, I believe, in part has to do with race and gender.
All right, Avis Jones-DeWeever, when we're meeting in person, I bet you wish it was under different circumstances.
I certainly do.
Great to have you here with your morning. Thanks for coming out.
Thanks for having me.
If you liked that video, make sure to subscribe to the Your Morning YouTube feed, where you can find all kinds of new content posted every weekday morning.